We are looking at the Cultural Revolution. This is another tumultuous period in Chinese history that comes not that long after the Great Leap Forward. When people in China remember Mao, they typically say that he was 70% good and 30% bad in terms of his policies and the things that he did for China. And the 30% almost always includes Great Leap Forward, Cultural Revolution. So we're going to talk about that some today. Real quick, I'll just mention what happened to Mao after the Great Leap Forward, and then we'll move on to the Cultural Revolution. There's a document there I want you to read, and then we'll talk about China after Mao. It's not a coincidence these dates go from 66 to 76. Mao died in 1976, and the Cultural Revolution came to an end. So, Mao lost a lot of prominence after the Great Leap Forward. He was in charge. He was held responsible for the failed policies that led to 20 million people dying during the Great Leap Forward. So he has to take a step back from leading the communist government in China. He's no longer in control, and this is frustrating for him because he sees that over the period of the 1960s, he sees what he believes China is moving backward. It's not pressing forward towards a communist utopia. He thinks it's sliding backwards. It's starting to embrace capitalism. He doesn't like that. And so one of the things that Mao does to gain exposure and try to regain his status as a leader is he initiates this great proletarian cultural revolution. And that's a mouthful, so we normally just say cultural revolution. But during this period, Mao became very prominent in his speeches and his sayings. You can see this book here, Quotations from Chairman Mao Zedong, and there's an image of Mao on the cover. The cult of personality is pretty strong during this cultural revolution. People gravitate towards Mao as this great figure who's going to do great things for China. And so one of the things that Mao does to try to show that he's still young and vigorous and able to do all the things that he says he's going to do is he swims in the Yangtze River for more than an hour. He swims about 15 kilometers. This is in 1966. Mao is 73 years old when he does this, and he's trying to prove a point that he is a very vigorous and strong leader, and he can lead the Chinese people. He shows how he's going to do this, but unfortunately, a lot of the Cultural Revolution was anti the old things, anti the past, anti feudalism. Anything that looked backward was considered bad. These are ancient Buddhist statues within China that are destroyed as a result of the Cultural Revolution because this represents the past and this is bad. So the students take out the statues, and that's something that can never be replaced, and that's a priceless artifact. You see here this image of the propaganda poster of Mao in the background. Notice he's wearing a military uniform, and there are military men in the front. And in this particular image, I don't have the exact translation, but he's talking about how his mind is an education for the military. And you can see, look what they've got in their hand, Mao's little red book of quotations. They've got it, and they're going to use that as they press on forward. But anything old, anything considered old, Confucianism, Buddhism, especially anything Western and capitalist is bad. So he's trying to show that he can lead China forward. One of the things he's going to do is what's called re-education. So here in this particular image, it's showing a group of young, educated youth and they need re-education. Um, and it says here, educated youth must go to the countryside to receive re-education from the poor and lower middle peasants. This was a very serious policy during this Cultural Revolution that educated people in college and professors like me are going to have to leave their elitist universities and places of work, and they're going to have to go down into the countryside and do manual labor. That was part of their re-education. They need to learn how to be amongst the peasants again. Lots of youth are being recruited into this movement. This is actually the cover of an elementary school textbook, and you can see these young youths are carrying Mao's little red book. They've got the book. Whoops. And they are part of what's called the Red Guard. The Red Guard are these youths who are going to eliminate things of the old, and they're going to help the country embrace socialism and a communist utopia one day. Here are the children all sitting around in a circle looking at Mao's little red book, and you can see how excited they look, learning it, memorizing it. During these huge rallies in the Cultural Revolution, you can see everybody's got Mao's little red book. You can see they're all waving these red flags for communism. There are images of Mao here in the background. I mean, obviously, the cult of personality is pretty large at this point. But these were very scary rallies because anybody could go. But if if Mao was talking and you did not seem enthusiastic enough about what he was saying, if you didn't clap enough, if you didn't cheer enough, you could be taken out of the audience, and all kinds of things could happen. You could be thrown in prison. You could be beaten up. So it was a very, very dangerous time during the Cultural Revolution. And it started in 66, and by 1968, Mao thought that it was getting out of hand, that these rebellious youths were taking it to extremes. Children were turning against their parents during the Cultural Revolution. Students were attacking their teachers during the Cultural Revolution, and it was just a very tumultuous time. But early on, Mao began to reflect on whether or not it was successful. And so it began in 66, and within a year and a half or so, he has this moment of reflection where he assesses the Cultural Revolution. And I'm asking you to think about it. Why did he believe this revolution was necessary? How did he view intellectuals? And if you had been alive during that time as a young student, how would you have reacted to what was going on during this Cultural Revolution? Now, obviously, a lot of these things sound very bad, but one of the things that Mao did during this span of the Cultural Revolution was he helped to reinitiate relations with the United States. And this was pretty big. So here's Mao and Nixon meeting in 1972. During an official state visit, Nixon left the United States to travel to China, the first president to do that. And you may remember that the Chinese government loaned us some panda bears as a result of that visit. But this is really important. So, up until this point, the United States had officially recognized Taiwan, the Republic of China, as the Chinese government. And you can see here, here's Taiwan. This is the Republic of China. This is where Chiang Kai-shek's government, nationalist government, is. And the United States is all the way over here. This is the China that the United States recognized until the 1970s. Nixon goes to China. He meets with Mao, has a very good relationship. And what happens in 1978, the United States no longer recognizes the Republic of China as the official Chinese government. It begins to recognize the People's Republic of China as the official Chinese government, which was a really big deal. Chiang Kai-shek was still alive at that point, so he felt betrayed. But that's one of the most significant things that happened during this Cultural Revolution. Mao was able to reestablish relations with China, with the United States. Now, that officially took place in 1978, But Mao did not live to see that. So Mao died in 1976. And you can see his body lying in state here. And I'll just move my head out of the way. And you can see Mao is dead and he lies in state. Anybody could come and visit. But you can see the reactions from the people. I can't explain a lot of these reactions. Students will often ask me about this guy here or about this guy here. I don't know why they're reacting the way they are. It's interesting, though, whoever took this picture was probably someone officially associated with the Chinese government, and this is probably an official photograph, so it's interesting that this is the photograph that we have available to us, and we can see how people are reacting when Mao died. Some numbers for you, just in case you're interested. So initially, the Red Guard violence during the Cultural Revolution killed about 400,000 people. Another 35,000 died in the later years of the Cultural Revolution, but it was just catastrophic to the Chinese country. A whole generation of students received very little formal education, and only about 18% of 40 million Communist Party members had more than an elementary school education. So it was horrible. The Chinese people felt out of touch with the rest of the world. But Mao died, and his successor becomes Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping, after the Great Leap Forward, he emerged as someone to fill Mao's place after Mao had to step down. So Deng Xiaoping and Mao didn't always get along. Mao viewed him as a threat. But Deng Xiaoping emerges after the Cultural Revolution, and he rules as the leader of the Communist Party and the Communist government until 1989. That's an important date, so just hang on to that, 1989. Deng Xiaoping is a pragmatist. I got to move my head again so you can see this. He's a pragmatist, and so he's very famous for this quote: "It doesn't matter if a cat is black or white, so long as it catches mice." He's only interested in practical policies that would work. That's what a pragmatist is. Pragmatists are practical. They care about results that'll work. Deng Xiaoping on the cover of Time magazine a couple of different times, and you can see one of them is from 1983. The other one looks like 1979. But you can see different ways that he used to spell Deng Xiaoping's name. This is the official way we spell it now. This is the old spelling for Deng Xiaoping. But Deng Xiaoping is known mostly for the Four Modernizations. And so I gotta find a place to put my head here. Four Modernizations, it was a way to try to modernize China after the Cultural Revolution failed. And so these are the four things: modernize agriculture, industry, the sciences, and national defense. Mao had already started that process when he helped open relations with the United States. That helped with national defense in a way by forging a stronger alliance with a huge world power. But also, Mao was not very interested in the sciences, so Deng Xiaoping pushed the sciences. You also see Deng Xiaoping pushing industry. We don't need people making bad steel in their backyards like they did during the Great Leap Forward. We're going to have modern industry do that instead. Same thing with agriculture. There were some weird pseudo-scientific things happening during the Great Leap Forward that Mao thought would improve crop yields, and none of them actually worked. So again, all these things go together. Deng Xiaoping believed if we rely on science, then we can improve agriculture industry, and we'll certainly need to improve our foreign relations and national defense. Now, there is a fifth modernization, and we're going to get to that in a second. That comes from Wei Jingsheng. What is the fifth modernization? You need to understand what that is. And for Wei Jingsheng, he's talking about democracy. How does he define it? And why does he believe you need that modernization in addition to the other four? So look at that, please, and think about that as we move on to the next part of this unit, which is on Tiananmen in 1989. That's where we're going to end this unit on China. A lot of tumultuous things happening in the 20th century, and it's going to end here near the end of the 20th century. It's going to end on a bang with the Tiananmen uprising. So that's all I've got, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time.